The stars looked different this far from Earth. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Terra Nova, watching the endless black space through the large windows. His ship was 3 months into a deep space mission, mapping new systems and looking for signs of life or valuable resources. Jake was a tall man with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. He had been in space for 10 years, but he still loved the quiet beauty of the stars. Today felt like any other day until his communications officer spoke up. "Commander, I'm getting a strange energy reading," said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, looking at her screen with a frown. "It's about 2 hours away at our current speed." Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of reading?" "It looks like a ship, sir. But the energy pattern is nothing I've seen before. It's not human technology." Jake felt his heart beat faster. First contact with alien life was every space explorer's dream and fear. The Terra Nova was a science ship, not a warship, but they were prepared for this possibility. "All stop," Jake ordered. "Dr. Carter and Engineer Sullivan to the bridge, please." Within minutes, Dr. Lisa Carter and Pete Sullivan arrived. Lisa was a medical officer with red hair and green eyes who always seemed ready to help anyone in need. Pete was the ship's engineer, a stocky man with black hair who could fix anything that broke. "We have a possible alien ship," Jake explained. "Lisa, I want you ready for any biological hazards. Pete, make sure our systems are running perfectly. We don't know what we're dealing with." The Terra Nova moved slowly toward the energy signature. As they got closer, their screens showed a ship unlike anything in human databases. It was long and thin, with a silver surface that seemed to shimmer like fish scales. Parts of the ship looked badly damaged, with holes in the hull and dark sections, where lights should have been. "No life signs on our scanners," reported Amy, "but our equipment might not work well on alien biology." Jake made his decision. "We're going aboard. Lisa, Pete, you're with me. Amy, keep the ship ready and watch for any other vessels." The 3 humans put on their spacesuits and took a small shuttle to the alien ship. Pete managed to connect their shuttle to what looked like an airlock. The doors opened with a soft hiss, revealing a corridor that was much smaller than human. Ships would have. "Everything here is built for someone much shorter than us," Lisa observed as they walked through the damaged ship. The walls were covered in strange symbols that glowed faintly blue. They found bodies throughout the ship. The aliens were about 4 feet tall with green-scaled skin and large yellow eyes. They looked like lizards that walked on 2 legs. Most had been killed by weapon fire, suggesting the ship had been attacked by pirates or raiders. "Poor creatures," Lisa said sadly, scanning one of the bodies with her medical equipment. "They were clearly intelligent. Look at this technology." Pete was examining the ship's systems. "This engineering is incredible. Their power systems are more advanced than ours, and everything is so efficiently designed." They continued searching the ship, finding living quarters, a bridge, and what appeared to be laboratories. Everything was built for the small lizard-like beings. In one room, they found computer terminals still working, showing technical drawings and mathematical formulas. "There might be a survivor," Jake said. "Keep looking." They found her in the medical bay, hiding behind an overturned table. She was smaller than the other aliens, probably young, with bright green scales and large golden eyes that were wide with terror. She wore a silver uniform that marked her as some kind of technician or engineer. When she saw Jake, she made a sound like a frightened bird and tried to back away further, but there was nowhere to go. She curled up into a ball, shaking uncontrollably. "Easy," Jake said softly, though he knew she couldn't understand him. "We're not going to hurt you." Lisa slowly approached with her medical scanner. "She's injured, but not critically. Mostly cuts and bruises. But her vital signs show extreme fear. She's terrified of us." The alien female watched every move they made with those large golden eyes. When Jake tried to get closer, she made desperate sounds and seemed to faint from fear, though her eyes stayed partially open, watching them. Why is she so scared? Pete wondered. We haven't done anything threatening. Jake knelt down several feet away from the alien, trying to appear non-threatening. Maybe her species has never seen humans before. We might look like monsters to her. Through their ship's communication system, Amy's voice reached them. Commander, I've been analyzing the ship's computer. I think I can activate their universal translator. It might help you communicate. After a few minutes, a voice came through their helmet speakers, speaking in broken but understandable English. The alien female was making soft sounds, and the translator was converting them to words. Please, quick death. Not like others say. Please not eat slow. Jake looked at Lisa and Pete in shock. Eat? She thinks we're going to eat her? Lisa's medical training kicked in. She's in shock. Look at her body language. She's not just afraid of being killed, she's afraid of being tortured first. The alien continued speaking through the translator, her voice weak and shaking. Others say humans eat living things, take pieces while alive. Please just kill quick. Jake felt sick to his stomach. What kind of stories has she heard about us? Pete was checking the ship's communication logs. Commander, I'm finding references to humans in their database, but it's all terrible stuff. They think we're some kind of galactic monsters. The alien female, seeing them move around and examine things, seemed to interpret this as preparation for something horrible. She curled up tighter and began making what sounded like prayers or final words. We need to help her, Lisa said firmly. She's injured and traumatized. But first, we need to make her understand we're not going to hurt her. Jake looked at the small, terrified creature and felt his heart break. Here was first contact with an intelligent alien species, and she was convinced they were going to torture and eat her alive. Whatever information her people had about humans, it was completely wrong. Can we transport her to our ship? Jake asked. I think so, Lisa replied. But she might die from fear if we try to move her suddenly. Jake made a decision that would change everything. Instead of trying to force communication or movement, he simply sat down on the floor several feet away from the alien female. He took off his helmet, showing his human face, and began speaking in a calm, gentle voice. We're not going to hurt you, he said, hoping the translator would convey his tone as well as his words. We want to help you. My name is Jake, the alien. Female looked at his face, seeing a human for the first time without the intimidating helmet. Jake's calm blue eyes and gentle expression were nothing like the monster she had been told about. But she was still too terrified to believe what she was seeing. This was how first contact began, not with grand speeches or formal ceremonies, but with a frightened young alien convinced she was about to be eaten, and a human man sitting on the floor trying to convince her that everything she had been told about his species was wrong. Jake remained sitting on the cold metal floor of the alien medical bay for nearly an hour. The young alien female, whom they would later learn was named Kira, stayed curled in her defensive position behind the overturned table. Her large, golden eyes never left Jake's face, watching for any sign that he might attack. Dr. Lisa Carter worked quietly at the edge of the room, setting up her portable medical equipment. She moved slowly and deliberately, knowing that sudden movements might send Kira into complete panic. Pete Sullivan had returned to the alien ship's computer systems, trying to learn more about these people and why they feared humans so much. The translator is getting better. Amy's voice came through their communicators. I'm feeding it more data from their computer. It should understand her speech patterns better now. Jake spoke softly to Kira, though she still trembled at the sound of his voice. We found your ship damaged. We want to help you get better. Do you understand? Through the translator, Kira's response came as broken words. Why delay feeding? Others say humans play with food, make suffer before eating. Lisa looked up from her equipment with sad eyes. She thinks we're toying with her. In her mind, we're just prolonging her torture. Jake tried a different approach. He reached into his emergency pack and pulled out a nutrition bar, standard food for human space missions. Very slowly, making sure Kira could see everything he was doing, he unwrapped the bar and took a bite. Kira watched with confusion as Jake chewed and swallowed the artificial food. This was not what she expected. The stories her people told said, humans only ate living flesh, preferably from intelligent beings who could feel fear and pain. Food, Jake said simply, showing her the nutrition bar. This is what humans eat, not other people. But Kira's mind, filled with years of propaganda and fear, interpreted this differently. She thought Jake was showing her what he planned, to feed her to make her meat taste better. Her translator conveyed her terrified response. Please, no feeding me first, just quick death like others. Lisa couldn't stand it anymore. She approached slowly, carrying her medical scanner. I'm a doctor, she said gently. I help people who are hurt. I want to help you. When Lisa moved closer, Kira tried to scramble away but was too weak from her injuries. She had cuts on her arms and legs from the attack on her ship, and one of her shoulders looked badly bruised. Lisa's scanner showed internal injuries that needed attention. She has a broken rib and internal bleeding, Lisa reported quietly to Jake. Nothing immediately life-threatening, but she needs medical care soon. Jake nodded and turned back to Kira. You're hurt. We want to make you better. No eating, no hurting. Just helping. Kira's response came through sobs. Humans heal food to keep fresh. Others told stories. Heal, then eat piece by piece. The horror of what Kira believed about them hit all three humans hard. Someone had filled her people's minds with the most terrible stories possible about human behavior. Jake wondered who would spread such evil lies and why. Pete's voice came through the communicator from the alien ship's bridge. Commander, you need to hear this. I've been going through their recent communications. This ship was attacked 3 days ago by something called the hegemony forces. But here's the weird part. The attackers were specifically looking for ships heading toward human space. Jake frowned. What do you mean? The ship's logs show they were traveling to a neutral space station where humans and other species meet for trade. The attackers seemed to know this and targeted them because of it. This new information made Jake think hard. If someone was attacking aliens who wanted to meet with humans, it suggested a larger conspiracy to keep the species apart. Meanwhile, Lisa had been slowly treating Kira's wounds from a distance, using her medical laser to clean and seal the cuts. Each time the medical equipment made a sound or produced a beam of light, Kira whimpered, thinking it was some kind of torture device. Medical laser, Lisa explained patiently. It helps cuts heal faster. No pain, just healing. But when the laser beam touched Kira's wounded arm and the pain immediately stopped, her reaction was pure terror. In her mind, the humans were using advanced technology to keep her from feeling pain so they could cut pieces off her while she was still alive. She began making high-pitched sounds that the translator couldn't convert to words. Lisa quickly turned off the medical laser, realizing her help was being misunderstood as preparation for something horrible. Jake had an idea. He used his knife to make a small cut on his own hand, then had Lisa treat it with the same medical laser while Kira watched. The alien female saw Jake allow the human doctor to use the device on him, and his face showed no fear or pain. See? Jake said, showing her his healed hand. It helps. It doesn't hurt. For the first time, Kira looked uncertain instead of just terrified. This didn't match anything she had been told about humans. Why would they heal each other if they were monsters who enjoyed causing pain? Lisa took advantage of this moment of doubt to treat more of Kira's wounds. The alien remained tense, but didn't try to escape. When the medical laser touched her injuries, and the pain faded. Her golden eyes widened with surprise. "Better?" Lisa asked gently. Kira's response was confused. Why heal prey? Stories say humans enjoy pain of others. Jake realized they needed to address these stories directly. "Who told you these things about humans? We don't eat people. We don't enjoy pain. We help others." Through the translator, Kira began to explain. Her people, the Zalani, had learned about humans from other alien species. Every race they had contact with told the same stories. Humans were savage predators who hunted intelligent life for food and pleasure. The Galactic Hegemony, a group of powerful alien civilizations, had warned all smaller species to avoid human space at all costs. They said humans couldn't be reasoned with, couldn't be trusted, and would kill or enslave any alien they encountered. "But you haven't killed me," Kira said through the translator, her voice showing the first hint of doubt about what she had been taught. Jake felt anger rising in his chest, not at Kira, but at whoever had filled her mind with such lies. "We don't kill people who haven't hurt us. We don't eat intelligent beings. These stories about us are not true." Pete returned from the alien ship carrying a small device. "I found something interesting. This is one of their communication units. It's been receiving regular broadcasts from the hegemony for months. Commander, they've been spreading anti-human propaganda throughout this entire sector of space." Jake examined the device while Pete activated it. Alien voices spoke in languages their translator couldn't fully understand, but certain words came through clearly. "Human threat. Savage hunters. Protect your families." Kira listened to the broadcast with growing confusion. She had heard these warnings hundreds of times, but they didn't match what she was experiencing. These humans had found her injured and afraid, and instead of attacking her, they were healing her wounds and speaking gently. "Stories wrong?" she asked hesitantly. Jake nodded firmly. "Stories wrong, very wrong." For the first time since they had found her, Kira uncurled from her defensive position. She was still afraid, but doubt was beginning to crack the wall of terror that surrounded her mind. Lisa finished treating the last of Kira's visible wounds. "She needs better medical care than I can provide here. We should take her to our ship." Kira understood enough to know they wanted to move her somewhere else. Her fear returned immediately. "Take where? To eating place?" Jake sighed, realizing they still had a long way to go to earn her trust. But for the first time, he felt hopeful. Kira was beginning to question the lies she had been told. Maybe, with patience and kindness, they could show her the truth about humanity. Moving Kira to the Terra Nova took 3 more hours of patient work. Every step of the process had to be explained and demonstrated to convince her that she wasn't being taken to a place where humans would cook and eat her. Jake started by having Lisa examine him with the same medical equipment she wanted to use on Kira. The alien watched with fascination as the human doctor ran various scanners over Jake's body, checking his health and showing the readouts on a small screen. "This shows if someone is healthy or sick," Lisa explained, pointing to the display. "Like this. Jake is healthy, good heart, good blood, no broken bones." When Lisa scanned Kira with the same equipment, the alien tensed but didn't run away. The scanner showed her broken rib and some internal bruising that needed treatment in the ship's medical bay. "You see?" Lisa said, showing Kira the screen. "This shows you need help. Our medical bay can fix the broken bone and stop the hurt inside." Kira studied the medical readings, her engineer's mind working despite her fear. The technology was more advanced than anything her people had, but the logic was clear. If humans wanted to eat her, why would they care about fixing her internal injuries? Pete had been working on the translation system and managed to access more of the Zalani language database from Kira's ship. The translator was now working much better, allowing for more complex conversations. "My name is Kira," she said, speaking directly to them for the first time instead of just answering questions. Was engineer on ship. Family dead. Crew dead. Only me left. Jake felt his heart break hearing the sadness in her voice. I'm sorry about your family and crew. We will help you contact your people when you're feeling better. Kira's response surprised them. Cannot contact. They think I dead. If they know I alive with humans, they come with weapons. Try to rescue me. Many die. This revelation worried Jake. If the Zalani government believed humans were monsters, they might attack the Terra Nova to save Kira, even if she didn't want to be saved. Why do your people believe such terrible things about us? Jake asked gently. Kira explained what she knew. For decades, the galactic hegemony had been the dominant power in this region of space. They controlled trade routes and decided which species could join their alliance. When humans began expanding beyond their own solar system, the hegemony saw them as a threat. Hegemony say humans dangerous, Kira continued. Say humans want to rule galaxy. Say humans eat other species because human food not enough. Say humans make slaves of anyone who surrender. Pete shook his head in disgust. All lies. We barely have enough resources to supply our own colonies, let alone conquer anybody else. Lisa was more interested in the psychological impact of these lies. Kira, have you ever seen a human before today? No. First time. Hegemony say no, meeting humans safe. Any ship go to human space, never come back. Jake realized the terrible effectiveness of the propaganda campaign. By preventing any actual contact between humans and other species, the hegemony could spread any lies they wanted without fear of contradiction. The journey from Kira's damaged ship to the Terra Nova required her to trust the humans enough to enter their shuttle. This was a huge step for someone who had spent her entire life believing humans were monsters. Jake went first, showing Kira that the shuttle was safe. He sat down and fastened his safety harness, demonstrating that he trusted the vehicle with his own life. Lisa and Pete did the same. Same as your ship, Pete explained, pointing to similar-looking controls and systems. Just for moving between ships. Very safe. Kira approached the shuttle slowly, her engineer's eye examining the construction and safety systems. Despite her fear, she was impressed by the design. The shuttle was sturdy and well-built, clearly made to protect its passengers rather than harm them. The flight to the Terra Nova was short but significant. Kira pressed her face to the small window, looking at the human ship as they approached. It was much larger than her vessel, but it didn't look like a warship. There were no obvious weapons, and the design seemed focused on exploration and research rather than conquest. Big ship, she commented. Yes, Jake replied. We explore space looking for new worlds and new people to meet, like meeting you when they docked with the Terra Nova. Kira got her first look at human living spaces. The corridors were much taller than what she was used to, built for beings twice her height. But they were clean and well lit, with plants growing in small gardens along the walls. Plants? Kira asked, confused. Lisa smiled. We like growing things. Plants make clean air and look pretty. Some we eat, too. This was another piece of evidence that contradicted everything Kira had been told. Monsters who ate sentient beings wouldn't care about pretty plants or clean air. They wouldn't build gardens in their ships. The medical bay of the Terra Nova was the most advanced facility Kira had ever seen. Lisa's equipment could scan every part of a body and fix problems without surgery. The healing technology was far beyond what the Zalani possessed. We need to fix your broken rib, Lisa explained, showing Kira a detailed image of her injury on the medical scanner's display. This machine can encourage the bone to heal itself much faster than normal. Kira stared at the image of her own skeleton, amazed by the clarity and detail. You can see inside body without cutting? Yes. And we can heal without cutting too. Watch. Lisa demonstrated the bone healing device on a small piece of broken material, showing how it could encourage rapid repair at the molecular level. The technology was clearly designed for healing, not harming. For the treatment, Kira had to lie still on the medical table while the healing device worked. This was terrifying for her because she was completely vulnerable. But Jake stayed in the room, talking to her gently while Lisa worked. "Tell me about your home," Jake said. "What is your planet like?" Kira began describing Zalani Prime, a world of vast forests and crystal cities. Her people were natural engineers and builders, creating beautiful structures that worked in harmony with their environment. As she talked about her home, she relaxed slightly, distracted from her fear. "Sounds beautiful," Jake said sincerely. "Maybe someday, humans and Zalani can visit each other's worlds as friends." This idea was so foreign to Kira that she stopped, talking mid-sentence. Friends? The hegemony had taught her that such a thing was impossible. Humans only wanted to dominate or destroy other species. But looking around the medical bay, seeing the care with which Lisa was treating her injuries, hearing the genuine interest in Jake's voice when he asked about her home, Kira began to wonder. If everything she had been taught was wrong, the bone healing process took 2 hours. During that time, Jake and Pete took turns talking with Kira, sharing stories about Earth and human colonies. They showed her pictures on their personal devices, images of human cities, families, children playing, people working together on building projects. "This is my home city," Jake said, showing her a picture of San Francisco with its famous Golden Bridge. "And this is my sister and her children." Kira studied the images carefully. These humans looked happy and peaceful. The children were playing with small animals, not hunting or killing. The adults were building and creating, not destroying. "Children small," she observed. "Yes, human children are small and need protection, just like yours. Hegemony say humans. Eat own young when food low," Kira said quietly. Jake's face showed such horror and disgust at this idea that Kira immediately knew it was a lie. No one could fake that level of revulsion. These people clearly loved and protected their children. When the medical treatment was finished, Lisa showed Kira the new scan of her ribs. The bone was completely healed, and the internal bruising was gone. "How you feel?" Lisa asked. Kira moved carefully, expecting pain, but felt nothing. The healing was complete and perfect. "Good. Very good. Thank you." These were the first words of gratitude she had spoken to the humans. It was a small step, but it marked the beginning of trust. Jake smiled. "You're welcome. We're glad we could help." As Kira looked around at the 3 humans who had saved her life and treated her injuries, she realized that everything the hegemony had told her people was a lie. These weren't monsters. They were healers, explorers, and protectors. But this realization brought a new fear. If the hegemony had lied about humans, what else had they lied about? And what would happen when they found out that a Zalani had learned the truth? Over the next few days, Kira slowly began to adapt to life aboard the Terra Nova. The humans had given her quarters that were adjusted for her smaller size, with furniture and controls she could reach comfortably. They even lowered the lights, to levels more comfortable for her large, sensitive eyes. Jake visited her every day, bringing her different types of human food to try. Each meal was another piece of evidence that humans were nothing like the monsters described by the hegemony. They ate fruits, vegetables, grains, and artificial proteins, no meat from intelligent beings, no suffering creatures prepared while still alive. "This is called pizza," Jake explained, showing her a slice of the Italian dish. "We make it with bread, vegetables, and cheese. Cheese comes from animals, but we don't hurt them to get it." Kira examined the food carefully before tasting it. The flavors were strange but pleasant. "Animals give milk freely?" "Yes, we keep them safe and happy, and they give us milk. We protect them from predators and give them food and medical care." This concept amazed Kira. Her people had always seen the relationship between intelligent species and animals as either predator and prey or complete separation. The idea that humans could form partnerships with other species, even non-intelligent ones, was completely new to her. Dr. Carter had been working with Kira to understand more about Zilani biology and culture. The two females had developed a friendship of sorts, with Lisa teaching Kira about human medicine while Kira shared knowledge about Zilani engineering techniques. "Your people are natural builders," Lisa observed, watching Kira easily repair a complex piece of equipment with just basic tools. "The way you understand how things work together is amazing." Kira felt pride at the compliment, but also sadness. "My crew was best engineers in Zilani space. We designed new ships, new cities, now all dead because we try to meet humans." This reminder of the tragedy that had brought them together made Lisa determined to help Kira find some justice for her fallen crewmates. She began working with Pete to recover more data from the Zilani ship's computers. Pete had been spending hours analyzing the alien technology, and what he found worried him greatly. "Commander, you need to see this," he told Jake privately. "The Zilani weren't just traveling to meet us. They were fleeing." Jake joined Pete in the computer lab, where they had connected the Zilani ship's memory banks to their own systems. The data painted a disturbing picture of the galaxy beyond human space. "Look at these communication intercepts," Pete said, showing Jake translated messages. "The hegemony has been systematically eliminating any species that shows interest in contacting humans. They call it quarantine enforcement." Jake read through the messages with growing anger. Entire colonies had been destroyed for the crime of wanting to establish peaceful contact with humanity. Scientific expeditions had been attacked and their crews killed. Trade ships carrying goods intended for human markets had simply disappeared. "It's genocide," Jake said quietly. "They're committing genocide to keep us isolated," Pete nodded grimly. "And it gets worse. According to these files, the Zilani government was pressured into developing anti-human weapons. Kira's ship was carrying prototypes." This news hit Jake like a physical blow. The young alien they had rescued, who was slowly learning to trust them, had been part of a project designed to kill humans. When Jake confronted Kira about this, her reaction was one of shame and guilt. "Yes," she admitted, her voice barely above, a whisper. "I helped design weapons. Hegemony say humans coming to destroy Zilani worlds, say we must be ready to fight." "But you didn't want to do it," Jake observed, reading her body language. Kira's head drooped. "No. I asked for transfer many times. Not want to make weapons for killing, even against monsters. Other engineers say I weak, say I not understand danger. But I think maybe killing wrong, even if target is enemy." Jake felt his respect for Kira grow. Even believing humans were monsters, she had refused to participate in creating weapons meant to kill them. Her conscience had won over her fear. "That's why you were on the ship to the neutral station," Lisa realized. "You were trying to get away from the weapons project." Kira nodded. "Captain offer transfer to deep space exploration. I say yes immediately. Want to build things, not destroy things. But hegemony find out. They send attack ships to stop us." Amy Rodriguez had been monitoring hegemony communications since they rescued Kira, and she brought disturbing news to the command crew. "They're looking for survivors from Kira's ship," Amy reported. "The attack wasn't random. They specifically wanted to prevent any Zilani from reaching human space. Now they're sending search parties to make sure no one escaped." Jake realized their situation was becoming dangerous. If the hegemony found the Terra Nova with Kira aboard, they would likely attack to eliminate the evidence of their crimes. But Kira overheard this conversation and made a decision that surprised everyone. "I want to help you fight them," she announced. Jake looked at her in surprise. "Kira, these are your own people's allies. Are you sure?" Kira's golden eyes blazed with determination. "Hegemony kill my crew, kill my friends. They make my people build weapons with lies about humans. They are not allies. They are manipulators and murderers." Lisa was concerned about the psychological impact of this decision. Kira, you've been through tremendous trauma. Maybe you should take more time to think about this. But Kira had already made up her mind. I know hegemony ship designs. I know their weapons. I know how they think. You save my life. Treat me with kindness. Now, I help save human lives. Pete was practical about the offer. She's right about knowing their technology. The defensive systems on those hegemony ships are incredibly advanced. We could use her help. Jake struggled with the ethics of accepting help from someone who had suffered so much loss. But he also recognized that Kira needed to feel useful, needed to believe that her survival had meaning. What do you propose? He asked her. Kira's engineering mind had already been working on the problem. Hegemony ships have weakness. They rely too much on automated systems, not enough on individual thinking. If we can make them confused, make their computers not work right, their crews cannot adapt quickly. She began sketching plans on the computer. Display, showing weaknesses in hegemony ship designs that she had learned about during her weapons work. Her knowledge was incredible. She understood not just how their ships worked, but how their military tactics functioned. Here, she said, pointing to a diagram. Main computer core on all hegemony ships is in same place. If we can send signal on right frequency, we can cause system overload. Ship not destroyed, but weapons and shields stop working. Jake was impressed by both the technical solution and the moral choice it represented. Rather than suggesting they destroy the enemy ships and kill the crews, Kira had found a way to disable them without unnecessary loss of life. You want to stop them, not kill them, he observed. Kira looked surprised that this needed to be said. Of course. They are wrong, they are enemies, but killing should be last choice, not first choice. Lisa smiled at this philosophy. You sound very human when you say that. Maybe, Kira replied thoughtfully. Humans and Zalani think more alike. Then hegemony want us to know. Amy's monitoring station suddenly activated with an urgent alert. Commander, I'm detecting 3 ships approaching fast. They're broadcasting hegemony identification codes. Jake looked at Kira, who squared her small shoulders with determination. Time to see if my plan works, she said. But as the enemy ships approached, Jake realized this would be about more than just testing Kira's technical knowledge. This would be the moment when a young Zalani engineer would have to choose between her lifelong beliefs and the evidence of her own experiences. The real test wasn't whether her plan to disable the hegemony ships would work. The real test was whether she was truly ready to stand with humans against everything she had been taught to believe. The 3 hegemony ships appeared on the Terra Nova's screens like dark shadows against the stars. They were sleek, predatory-looking vessels designed for hunting and destroying rather than exploring. Each ship was twice the size of the human vessel, with weapons that could reduce the Terra Nova to space dust in minutes. They're hailing us, Amy reported from her communications station. Jake looked at Kira, who had gone very pale. Her large golden eyes were fixed on the enemy ships, and she was trembling slightly. These were the same type of vessels that had killed her crew and destroyed her ship. What do we do? Pete asked quietly. Jake made a command decision. Answer their hail. Let's see what they want. The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the lead hegemony ship. The captain was a tall, gray-skinned alien with 4 arms and cold black eyes. His species, the Vorthak, were known throughout the galaxy as ruthless military leaders. Human vessel, the Vorthak captain spoke in accented but clear English. You are in violation of hegemony space. Prepare to be boarded and searched. Jake stepped forward, keeping his voice calm and diplomatic. This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Terra Nova. We're on a peaceful exploration mission in open space. These star systems aren't claimed by any government. The Vorthak captain's expression didn't change. All space within 50 light years of hegemony worlds is under our protection. We have reports of terrorist activity in this sector. Stand down your engines and prepare for inspection. Behind Jake, Kira whispered urgently, "It's a lie. They want to search for survivors from my ship. If they find me..." Jake understood. If the hegemony found Kira alive and cooperating with humans, it would destroy their propaganda campaign. They couldn't allow evidence that humans were peaceful and helpful to reach other species. "We have nothing to hide," Jake told the Vorthak captain. "But our mission protocols require us to contact Earth Command before allowing foreign boarding parties on our ship." The alien captain's black eyes narrowed. "You will comply immediately, or we will consider you hostile and respond accordingly." 3 ships with enough firepower to destroy a small moon were threatening one unarmed exploration vessel. Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice level. "We are not hostile. We're simply following proper procedures. You have 5 minutes to comply," the Vorthak said, and the screen went dark. Kira was already at work at one of the engineering stations, her small hands flying over the controls. "I can send the signal to their main computers," she said, "but I need to get close enough to penetrate their shields." Pete joined her at the engineering station. "How close?" "Maybe 1,000 kilometers. Very dangerous distance." Jake realized what Kira was proposing. The Terra Nova would have to fly directly toward 3 warships, close enough that their weapons could destroy the human ship in seconds, and hope that Kira's technical knowledge was correct. "Are you sure this will work?" he asked her. Kira's golden eyes met his, and he saw determination mixed with fear. "Not completely sure, but I designed similar systems for Zalani ships. Theory is sound. Lisa had a different concern. Kira, if we do this, there's no going back. You'll be openly opposing the hegemony. Your own people might consider you a traitor." Kira was quiet for a moment, thinking about her family, her friends, everyone she had ever known. Then she looked around at the humans who had saved her life and treated her with kindness. "My people are living a lie," she said finally. "Someone must tell them truth. If I die trying, at least I die for something good." Jake felt his heart swell with admiration for the young alien's courage. She was willing to risk everything to prevent a war based on lies. "All right," he decided. "We do this Kira's way. Amy, set course directly for the lead ship. Maximum speed." "Sir?" Amy looked confused. "Trust me. And when I give the signal, broadcast a message on all frequencies. I want every ship in this sector to hear what happens next." The Terra Nova surged forward, accelerating directly toward the 3 hegemony warships. The enemy vessels immediately responded, moving to intercept and targeting their weapons. "Human ship, you are on a collision course," came the angry voice of the Vorthak captain. "Change direction immediately or we will fire." "Now, Kira," Jake said quietly. Kira activated her system override signal, sending a complex stream of data toward the hegemony ships on frequencies their computers monitored. Automatically, the signal was disguised as routine system diagnostics, but it carried a hidden payload. For a few seconds, nothing seemed to happen. The enemy ships continued to close in, their weapons charging for firing. Then suddenly all 3 vessels went dark. Their lights flickered and went out. Their weapons powered down. Their engines stopped working. The mighty hegemony warships were drifting helplessly in space. "It worked," Pete shouted with amazement. But Kira wasn't celebrating. "Only temporary," she warned. "They will restore systems in maybe 1 hour. We must use time wisely." Jake activated the ship-wide communication system. "Amy, broadcast this on all frequencies, including the hegemony emergency channels." He looked directly at Kira. "Tell them," he said simply. Kira moved to the communication station, her small hands shaking as she activated the broadcast system. When she spoke, her voice was clear and strong, carried to listening posts throughout the sector. "My name is Kira, of Zalani Prime. I am engineer, I am daughter, I am survivor. The hegemony tell lies about humans. They say humans are monsters, but this is false. She paused, gathering strength for what came next. Humans found me dying on my ship. They could have left me. They could have hurt me. Instead, they heal my wounds. They give me food. They treat me with kindness and respect. Everything hegemony say about humans is lie. On the main screen, they could see emergency lights flickering on aboard the disabled hegemony ships as their crews worked frantically to restore power. Kira continued her broadcast. Hegemony attack ships carrying Zalani scientists to peaceful. Meeting with humans. They kill my crew, my friends, my family. They commit murder to keep truth hidden. They make weapons with lies about human threat. Jake watched the young alien with deep respect as she risked everything to tell the truth to the galaxy. I have seen human medical bay where they save lives. I have seen human quarters where they grow plants for beauty. I have seen humans cry when they learn about death of my crew. These are not monsters. These are people who care about others, even others not like them. Pete reported from his station, the hegemony ships are starting to get their communications back online. They're going to try to jam our signal. Kira spoke faster, knowing her time was running out. To my people, to all people who hear this message, do not believe hegemony lies. Humans want peace. They want friendship. They want to learn and explore, not conquer and destroy. Give them chance to prove this truth. Amy interrupted urgently. Commander, the lead ship just got weapons back online. They're targeting us. Jake made another command decision. All hands, prepare for emergency jump to hyperspace. Plot course for Earth. But Kira grabbed his arm. Wait, let me finish. She spoke one final message into the communication system. My name is Kira of Zalani Prime. I choose to stand with humans because they show me what real peace looks like. Truth is stronger than fear. Hope is stronger than hate. The broadcast ended just as the hegemony ships opened fire. But the Terra Nova was already gone, jumping to hyperspace with precious cargo. Not just one young alien, but proof that the lies dividing the galaxy could be overcome. In the days that followed, Kira's message would be heard by millions of beings, across dozens of worlds. Some would dismiss it as human propaganda. Others would wonder if everything they had been told was wrong. But seeds of doubt had been planted, and sometimes that's all it takes to change the galaxy. The journey back to human space took 2 weeks through hyperspace. During this time, the Terra Nova received hundreds of messages from across the galaxy, some supporting Kira's broadcast, others condemning it, and many simply asking for more information. Kira spent most of her time in the ship's library, learning everything she could about human history, culture, and technology. What she discovered amazed her. Humans had gone through their own dark periods of war and hatred, but they had learned from their mistakes and grown beyond them. Your people fought wars against each other for thousands of years, she observed to Jake as they looked through historical records together. But you learned to make peace. Jake nodded. It wasn't easy. We made a lot of mistakes, hurt a lot of people, but eventually we realized that working together was better than fighting each other. Maybe other species can learn this too, Kira said hopefully. Dr. Carter had been analyzing the responses to Kira's broadcast, and the results were encouraging. Several independent worlds have sent messages saying they want to open communications with Earth. The hegemony's control is starting to crack. But the news wasn't all good. Pete had intercepted military communications showing that the hegemony was preparing a massive response to what they called the human contamination incident. They're mobilizing a fleet, Pete reported grimly. Hundreds of ships from dozens of member species. They're calling it a preemptive strike to protect the galaxy from human expansion. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. By rescuing Kira and allowing her to broadcast the truth, they had potentially started a galactic war. Kira sensed his worry. You think this is your fault, she said. It wasn't a question, isn't it? If we had left you on that ship, if we hadn't gotten involved, then lies would continue, Kira interrupted firmly. More species would be destroyed for wanting to meet humans. More weapons would be built based on false fears. War was coming anyway. Now maybe it comes with some people knowing truth. Amy called from the communications station. Commander, we're receiving a message from Earth Command. They want to speak with you immediately. The conversation with Earth's military leadership was tense. Admiral Helen Barnes, head of the Space Defense Force, appeared on the main screen looking worried and frustrated. Commander Morrison, do you have any idea what you've done? We've got reports of hegemony fleets massing all along our border. They're calling your actions an act of war. Jake stood at attention. Admiral, with respect, we rescued a survivor and allowed her to tell the truth. If that's an act of war, then we were already at war and just didn't know it. Admiral Barnes studied Jake's face, then looked at Kira, who was standing beside him. And you're the Zalani who made the broadcast? Kira stepped forward, her small frame dwarfed by the humans around her, but her voice strong and clear. Yes, Admiral. I tell truth about my experiences with your people. Truth should not be act of war. The Admiral was quiet for a moment, considering the situation. The politicians are in an uproar. Half want to hand you over to the hegemony to prevent war. The other half want to use you as proof that we can coexist with alien species. And what do you want, Admiral? Jake asked. Admiral Barnes looked tired. I want to prevent a war that could destroy billions of lives. But I also want it on record that humanity didn't start this fight. We've been trying to establish peaceful contact for decades, and they've been sabotaging every attempt. Dr. Carter stepped forward. Admiral, Kira has information about hegemony military capabilities and tactics. She could help us prepare defensive strategies. I don't want to prepare for war, Kira said suddenly. I want to prevent it. Jake looked at her with curiosity. What do you mean? Kira had been thinking about this problem for days, and her engineers' mind had found a potential solution. Hegemony power comes from fear and lies. But what if more people hear truth? What if we show Galaxy that humans and other species can work together? Admiral Barnes frowned. How do you propose we do that? The hegemony controls most of the communication networks. Not all, Kira replied. Independent traders, neutral stations, research outposts, many have their own communication systems. If we can reach them directly, show them evidence of human-alien cooperation, Pete caught on to her idea. A truth campaign. Instead of preparing for war, we prepare for peace by showing the Galaxy what that looks like. It's risky, Admiral Barnes said. If it fails, we'll have given away our defensive plans and capabilities to potential enemies. Jake looked at Kira, remembering how terrified she had been when they first found her, and how much courage it had taken for her to overcome that fear and stand with them. Admiral, 3 weeks ago this young woman believed we were monsters who would torture and eat her alive. Now she's willing to risk her life to prevent a war between our species. If she can change that much, maybe others can too. Admiral Barnes considered this. What exactly are you proposing? Kira had already worked out the details. We visit independent worlds, neutral stations, anywhere people might listen. We show them what human-alien cooperation looks like. We demonstrate shared technology, shared knowledge, shared friendship. Use me as proof, she continued. I am alive, healthy, free to speak. I work with human crew as equal partner. This is evidence that cannot be dismissed as propaganda. Dr. Carter was excited by the possibilities. We could establish cultural exchange programs, joint research projects, shared exploration missions. Show the Galaxy that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker. Pete added his perspective. And every species that joins us makes it harder for the hegemony to claim they're protecting the Galaxy from human aggression. Admiral Barnes was quiet, for a long time weighing the options. Finally, she spoke. It's never been tried on this scale before, but given the alternative, She made her decision. Commander Morrison, you and your crew are hereby assigned to diplomatic duty. Your mission is to establish contact with as many independent species as possible and demonstrate the benefits of human-alien cooperation. Jake felt both excited and terrified by this assignment. And if the hegemony attacks while we're trying to make peace, then we'll deal with that when it happens. But maybe, if you're successful, we won't have to. Kira spoke up one more time. Admiral, there is something else. My ship had technical specifications for new hegemony weapons. If they attack, you will need this information to defend yourselves. Admiral Barnes nodded. We'll send a team to retrieve that data. Anything else? Kira looked around at the humans who had become her friends and teammates. Yes, I want to become human citizen. I want to officially join your crew, not as rescued alien, but as volunteer member. Jake felt his heart swell with pride and affection for the brave young engineer. I would be honored to have you as a permanent crew member. Then, it's settled, Admiral Barnes said. The Terra Nova is now Earth's first official diplomatic vessel. Commander Morrison, you have 6 months to build an alliance strong enough to deter hegemony aggression. No pressure. As the communication ended, Jake looked around at his crew, human and alien working together, preparing to risk everything, for the chance at peace. Well, team, he said with a smile, looks like we're about to find out if the truth really is stronger than fear. Kira smiled back, her golden eyes bright with hope. With humans as teachers, I think Galaxy is about to learn many new things. 3 months into their diplomatic mission, the Terra Nova had visited 12 independent worlds and established peaceful contact with 8 different species. Each success brought new challenges, but also new hope for galactic peace. Their first stop had been New Haven Station, a neutral trading post where dozens of species gathered to exchange goods and information. When the Terra Nova docked, word spread quickly that humans had arrived with a Zalani crew member who spoke freely about her experiences. The station administrator, a tall, blue-skinned Andorian named Captain Vex, had been skeptical at first. The hegemony warned us that humans might try to infiltrate our facilities with alien collaborators, he said during their initial meeting. But after spending an hour watching Jake and Kira work together to solve a complex engineering problem, in the station's power systems, Captain Vex changed his opinion. I have never seen such cooperation between different species, he admitted. Usually each race works separately, sharing only what they must. Kira had become the Terra Nova's unofficial ambassador, her story resonating with beings across the galaxy who had lost friends and family to hegemony protection policies. Her technical skills also proved invaluable in establishing credibility with species that valued engineering excellence. On Crystalline Prime, home to the silicon-based lithoids, Kira worked with local engineers to design new crystal-growing techniques that could benefit both species. The lithoids were amazed by the combination of human creativity and Zalani precision. Your partnership produces results neither species could achieve alone, observed Chief Engineer Quartzus, one of the lithoid's most respected scientists. This suggests the hegemony's claims about species incompatibility are incorrect. Dr. Carter had developed her own approach to diplomacy, focusing on medical cooperation. She shared human healing techniques while learning about alien biology and medicine. On Verdant World, she worked with plant-based Florians to develop new treatments that could help both humans and photosynthetic species. Healing transcends species boundaries, Dr. Carter explained to a gathering of Florian healers. Pain is pain, whether felt by human, Zalani, or Florian. Our goal is always the same, to reduce suffering and promote health. Pete Sullivan had found common ground with species that valued technical innovation. His ability to quickly understand and improve alien technology made him welcome on worlds where engineering prowess determined social status. On the mechanical world of Gear Prime, inhabited by cybernetic beings called the Assembled, Pete collaborated with local technicians to develop hybrid human-alien technologies that were more efficient than either species could create independently. Organic creativity combined with mechanical precision yields optimal results, announced Prime Unit 7, leader of the assembled. This cooperation model should be replicated throughout Galaxy, but their greatest success came on Harmony Station, a former hegemony outpost that had declared independence after hearing Kira's original broadcast. The station was populated by refugees from dozens of species who had been displaced by hegemony expansion policies. The station's leader, an elderly Centaurian named Elder Skyweaver, welcomed the Terra Nova with tears in her old eyes. For 60 years, the hegemony told us that humans were our enemies, she said. But you come here offering help, not demanding submission. Kira's presence on Harmony Station caused a sensation. Hundreds of beings came to see the Zilani, who had dared to speak truth to the galaxy's most powerful military alliance. Many shared their own stories of hegemony oppression and false flag operations designed to keep species isolated and afraid. They destroyed my home colony, reported a young Aquarian whose people lived in floating cities. Claimed it was necessary to prevent human contamination. But we had never even met a human. We just wanted to trade with Earth colonies for water purification technology. Jake listened to story after story of hegemony crimes committed in the name of protecting the galaxy from human expansion. Each account strengthened his resolve to continue their peaceful mission, despite growing military pressure. Amy Rodriguez had been monitoring hegemony communications throughout their journey, and the news was increasingly troubling. "They're calling our diplomatic mission a corruption campaign," she reported. "Admiral Vorthak is convincing member species that we're using psychological warfare to weaken galactic defenses." The hegemony had also begun targeting species that showed interest in human cooperation. 3 worlds that had welcomed the Terra Nova were later visited by hegemony inspection teams that confiscated communication equipment and arrested local leaders who had spoken favorably about humans. "They're trying to intimidate others into refusing contact with us," Jake observed grimly. But Kira had noticed something the hegemony might have missed. "Fear tactics work only when people believe you have power to protect them," she said. "But more species are realizing hegemony protection is really control. Indeed, the diplomatic mission was succeeding beyond their wildest hopes." 7 independent worlds had formally requested to establish trade relationships with Earth. 3 species had asked to send cultural ambassadors to human colonies. And most importantly, 12 different races had begun communicating directly with each other, bypassing hegemony-controlled networks. The breakthrough came when Elder Skyweaver made a proposal that changed everything. "What if we form our own alliance?" she suggested during a gathering of leaders from all the species the Terra Nova had contacted. Chief Engineer Quartzus supported the idea. "The hegemony claims to speak for galactic security, but they speak only for their own power. An alternative alliance based on cooperation rather than domination would expose their lies." Captain Vex was more cautious. "Such an alliance would be seen as a direct challenge to hegemony authority. They would respond with military force." "They plan to use military force anyway," Kira pointed out. "At least this way, we face them together instead of alone." Dr. Carter saw the medical implications. An alliance based on cooperation could share resources and knowledge in ways the hegemony never allows. We could eliminate diseases, share food production techniques, develop new technologies together. Pete was excited by the engineering possibilities. "Imagine what we could build if human creativity, Zilani precision, lithoid strength, Florian, growth abilities, and assembled computational power all worked together." Jake felt the weight of history as he realized they were witnessing the birth of something entirely new in galactic politics, an alliance based on mutual respect and shared benefits rather than fear and dominance. "If we do this," he said carefully, "there's no going back. The hegemony will see it as a declaration of war." Elder Skyweaver's ancient face was serene with determination. "Some things are worth fighting for, Commander Morrison. The right to choose our own friends, the right to learn from other species, The right to grow beyond fear. These are worth any risk. One by one, the representatives of different species voiced their agreement. The cooperative alliance was born in that moment, with humanity as one member among many, rather than the dominant power. Kira stood before the gathered representatives. No longer the terrified refugee they had rescued months earlier, but a confident diplomat representing the possibility of galactic peace. "When humans found me dying on my ship," she said, "I thought they would eat me alive. Instead, they taught me that different species can be family to each other. Today, we make that family official." As the representatives signed the Cooperative Alliance Charter, Jake felt both pride and fear. They had accomplished something amazing, but he knew the real test was yet to come. The hegemony would not accept this challenge to their authority without a fight. The hegemony's response to the Cooperative Alliance came swiftly and brutally. Admiral Vorthak arrived at Harmony Station with a massive fleet of warships, demanding the immediate surrender of all Alliance members and the execution of what he called the human contamination agents. But the galaxy had changed in the months since Kira's first broadcast. When the hegemony fleet arrived, expecting to find frightened, isolated species begging for protection, they instead found a united coalition of worlds ready to defend their new alliance. Jake stood on the bridge of the Terra Nova as it took position alongside ships from 12 different species. Each vessel was unique. Lithoid crystal ships that sparkled like diamonds, Florian living ships that grew and healed themselves, assembled mechanical vessels that could reconfigure their shapes for different purposes. "This is Admiral Vorthak of the Galactic Hegemony," came the transmission from the enemy flagship. "You are in violation of galactic peace accords. Surrender immediately or face destruction." Elder Skyweaver's voice responded from Harmony Station, calm and dignified despite the overwhelming firepower aimed at them. "This is Elder Skyweaver of the Cooperative Alliance. We are peaceful beings exercising our right to choose our own associations. We ask you to withdraw and allow diplomatic resolution." "There will be no diplomacy with human corruption," Admiral Vorthak snarled. "You have 30 minutes to surrender the human vessel and execute the traitor Kira. After that, we will begin bombardment." Kira stood beside Jake on the Terra Nova's bridge, no longer the terrified refugee he had found cowering on a damaged ship. She was now officially Earth's first alien citizen and the Cooperative Alliance's Secretary of Interspecies Relations. "He calls me traitor," she observed calmly. "But traitor to what? To lies? To fear? To hatred between species? Then I am proud to be traitor." Dr. Carter was monitoring communications from across the galaxy as news of the confrontation spread. "Jake, we're getting messages from hundreds of worlds. Species we've never even contacted are declaring support for the Alliance." Pete was coordinating defensive strategies with engineers from all the Alliance species. "The combined fleet is actually more powerful than the hegemony forces," he reported with surprise. "When we work together, we're stronger than any single military power." Amy was tracking something even more significant. "Commander, I'm detecting massive communication activity throughout hegemony space. Their own member species are questioning this attack. Some are refusing to send additional ships." Jake realized that the hegemony's greatest weapon, fear, was finally being overcome by evidence of what cooperation could achieve. The Alliance ships weren't just defending themselves. They were proving that diverse species could work together as equals. "Admiral Vorthak," Jake broadcast on all frequencies, ensuring that listening posts throughout the galaxy could hear his words. "You claim to represent galactic peace, but you come here with weapons drawn against peaceful beings. You claim to protect species diversity, but you attack anyone who chooses friendship over isolation." Admiral Vorthak's response was predictably angry. "Humans are parasites who corrupt other species with false promises. We have protected the galaxy from your kind for decades." "Protected?" Kira's voice cut across the communication channels like a blade. "You murdered my crew for wanting to meet humans. You destroyed colonies for trading with Earth. You built weapons of genocide based on lies about human nature. This is not protection. This is tyranny." Chief Engineer Quartzus added his crystalline voice to the broadcast. "The hegemony claims species cannot cooperate, but we prove this false. Human ingenuity, Zalani precision, lithoid strength, Florian adaptability. Together we achieve what none could alone." Dr. Carter spoke as a healer and scientist. "The hegemony spreads the disease of fear and hatred. The Alliance offers the cure, understanding, cooperation, and mutual respect." Captain Vex represented the traders and merchants. "The hegemony controls through scarcity and isolation. The Alliance creates abundance through sharing knowledge and resources." Admiral Vorthak's 30-minute deadline passed without any alliance. Ships surrendering. Instead, something unprecedented happened. Ships began arriving from across the galaxy, not to join the hegemony fleet, but to stand with the Alliance. "Admiral," Amy reported with amazement, "we now have over 300 ships from 47 different species. This is the largest cooperative fleet in galactic history." Elder Skyweaver's ancient voice carried across space to every listening post in the galaxy. "Today we choose hope over fear, cooperation over domination, truth over lies. Today we prove that different species can be one family." Admiral Vorthak found himself facing not just the Alliance fleet, but a galaxy-wide rebellion against everything the hegemony represented. His own communication officers reported that dozens of hegemony member worlds were declaring independence and requesting to join the cooperative alliance. The final blow came when Admiral Vorthak's own second-in-command, a young Vorthak officer named Commander Nexus, publicly questioned the attack order. "Admiral, these beings have committed no crimes except choosing their own friends. Are we truly protecting the galaxy by attacking peaceful cooperation?" Jake watched on the main screen as Admiral Vorthak's authoritarian certainty cracked in the face of overwhelming evidence that his worldview was wrong. The old military leader who had spent decades spreading fear and hatred suddenly looked very small and very alone. This is not how it was supposed to happen," Admiral Vorthak muttered, more to himself than to anyone else. Kira's voice, gentle but firm, reached across space to the confused Admiral. "It is exactly how it was supposed to happen. Fear and lies can only survive in darkness. When truth shines light, people choose love over hate, cooperation over conflict. The confrontation ended not with battle, but with surrender, not of the Alliance, but of the lies that had divided the galaxy for so long." Admiral Vorthak's fleet dispersed as ship after ship declared for the Alliance or simply departed for home. 6 months later, Jake stood in the same medical bay where they had first found Kira, but now it was being used to treat patients from a dozen different species. Dr. Carter worked alongside Florian healers, lithoid crystal therapists, and assembled medical units to provide care that no single species could offer alone. Kira was there too, not as a patient, but as a teacher, showing young engineers from multiple species how to work together on projects that seemed impossible for any one race to complete alone. "Do you ever regret it?" Jake asked her. "Leaving your old life behind, becoming something completely new?" Kira looked around at the bustling medical bay where beings who had been taught to fear each other were now working side by side to heal and help. "I thought humans would eat me alive," she said with a smile. "Instead, they taught me how to live." Pete called from across the room where he was working with a team of mixed-species engineers. "Kira, we need your help with the new engine design. The assembled want to integrate organic neural networks with crystalline power matrices." "Coming," Kira replied, then turned back to Jake. "You saved my life when you found me on that broken ship. But this," she gestured to the cooperative work happening all around them, "this is how you save my soul." Jake watched as Kira joined. The engineering team, her small figure moving easily among beings twice her size, all of them working together on technologies that would benefit the entire galaxy. Outside the medical bay's windows, the stars looked the same as they had that day when the Terra Nova first detected Kira's damaged ship. But everything else had changed. Fear had been replaced by friendship, isolation by cooperation, hatred by hope. The young Zalani, who had once cowered in terror at the sight of humans, now stood as living proof that the universe was big enough for all its children to be family. And in a galaxy finally learning to choose love over fear, that was the most powerful truth of all. The story that began with Kira anticipating that humans would eat her alive had ended with her teaching the galaxy how to live together in peace. Sometimes, Jake reflected, the most important journeys begin with the smallest acts of kindness toward someone who expects the worst but receives the best instead. The stars remained the same, but the galaxy had learned to shine brighter.